On the night of January 31st, 1978, on the northern coast of Norway, there was a place so remote that it didn't even appear correctly on most maps. Breakwater Station. Normally, no one ever passed through this isolated point, used only by fishermen and the coastal safety units. But that winter's brutal storms had forced it to shut down completely. According to official records, only 3 people were inside the station that night. Coastal Officer Lars Grender, Technician Erik Holm, and the young record keeper Sina Ass. Their connection to the outside world had been cut, and after 2:40, none of the 3 were ever heard from again. What these 3 experienced that night, when pieced together from official reports, security audio logs, and the notebook entries discovered years after Sina's death, becomes a story almost impossible for the mind to grasp. Even today, the Norwegian Archive Authority keeps the files of this incident under restricted access. Tonight, I will tell you exactly how that night began and what it turned into. The first entry in Sina's notebook is from 1942. The wind feels like it will tear the building from the ground. Erik says the antennas keep losing signal. Lars claims he saw strange lights near the shore. He told me not to record it, but I am writing it down anyway, because I feel like today is going to be different, wrong, even. Breakwater Station was built at the spot where the sea hit the coast the hardest. In winter, the storms were so violent that waves nearly 10 meters high could rattle the windows. This was normal for the crew. But that night, the air carried an electric charge far too strong to explain. The wind didn't sound like wind. It sounded like something screaming through its teeth. At around 2010, the station's alert system suddenly activated. The radar had detected a slowly moving mass remarkably close to the shoreline. Sina checked the alarm and confirmed the antennas were functioning, but she couldn't understand what the system was showing. The object was several times larger than a boat, yet it wasn't moving on the water. It seemed to be moving beneath it. There's something huge in the sea, but the storm isn't strong enough for this. If it were a ship, it would have already been torn apart by the waves. Lars initially thought it might be a whale, but the radar showed a geometric shape cutting through the waves. No whale grows beyond 30 meters, and this thing measured nearly 70. The 3 of them grabbed their coats and climbed to the observation tower. The wind was so strong it could knock a man down. When they looked out at the sea, they saw nothing but black water and frothing chaos. And then, light. A pale glow rising from beneath the surface. Greenish, flickering, gliding through the dark waters toward the shore. Sina wrote, "The light ripples like something beneath the water is breathing. As it gets closer, I can make out its shape. A long line, almost like a tunnel." At 21:33, the main generator that powered the entire area suddenly shut down. The station fell into total darkness. The only illumination came from that pale green glow outside. Erik ran downstairs. There had to be a technical explanation, but when he came back, his face was ash white. The generator looks melted, like metal bent while still hot. They knew that was physically impossible. At that same moment, Sina heard static crackle through the radio. And boom! Station! Respond! Shore! The light! The voice belonged to the Coastal Security Center just a few kilometers away. Yet it sounded muffled, distorted, impossibly deep, as if spoken not by a person, but by the echo of one. Lars shut the radio off. He paced the room, agitated, then suddenly froze. His shadow was on the wall, but there was no light source in the room, and the shadow wasn't moving with him. Sina wrote, Lars's shadow was on the wall, but it wouldn't follow him. For several seconds, none of us spoke. And then, the shadow started smiling. As the hours passed, the events inside the station grew more disturbing. Sina heard strange sounds echoing through the corridors. The walls vibrated, but not from the wind. Something inside the building, a deep, inhuman frequency, pressed against their bodies from within the concrete itself. Erica went to check the electrical panels in the basement. Minutes later, he screamed. Sina and Lars ran down to find him curled in a corner, hands over his face. "There's someone in the walls," he shouted. "Someone or something crawling in there." When they approached the wall, they felt it too. Something massive sliding behind its surface like a serpent under stone. A shadow passing inside the concrete. "This building is solid," Lars yelled. "There's no gap in these walls. How is this possible?" No one had an answer. Outside, the light grew brighter. At 23:21, Sina noticed debris floating in the storm. Splintered wood, as though a boat had broken apart and washed ashore. But no boat was supposed to be at sea that night. Among the debris, half submerged in the waves, was the hull of a vessel. The wood was spiraled, twisted from the inside out. Eric shined his flashlight and found a metal plate. All three read the inscription. Nordlis 5. Missing 1971. A boat lost 7 years ago. Sina wrote, "The sea is spitting the past back at us. Or maybe we are drifting through it." Past midnight, a green shimmer spread across the station's walls. The underwater light had reached the shoreline. It no longer looked like a single object. It looked like an entire sheet of light claiming a portion of the coast. A thin ribbon of that light slid under the door, warping everything it touched, bending shadows as if the room itself were breathing. Despite Eric's protests, Lars opened the door. Outside, the sea was gone. Or rather, it was no sea they recognized. The surface was perfectly smooth. The storm had stopped, but the water wasn't moving, like a sheet of glass. Beneath that glass lay a massive shifting shadow, a dark tunnel, and from the tunnel, a face emerged, a human face, but with no eyes, no mouth, only shape. Lars stumbled backward. Sina slammed the door, but the face detached from the tunnel and began appearing along the station walls, passing through the concrete like smoke. Eric dropped to the floor, covering his ears. "It's making a sound! Don't you hear it?" Sina didn't hear anything, but Eric did. Something ancient, something too deep to belong to anything human. At 1:03, the walls cracked. The station lights flickered back on for a split second, glowing green. Sina wrote only one sentence for that moment. "It wants to get in, but not through the door, through time itself." The crack widened, folding back like a peel layer. Behind the concrete there were no cables, no dirt. There was the sea. Where the station interior should have been, they saw the seafloor, endless darkness, shapes drifting within it. Some looked human, some did not. At 1:24, Eric suddenly stood up and ran toward the opening. Sina tried to stop him, but Eric's eyes were almost entirely overtaken by the green glow. "They're calling me," he said. "One of them sounds like my mother." He stepped through the tear without hesitation. For a moment, his body convulsed as if drowning. Then the darkness swallowed him. Two remained, Sina and Lars. The storm had started to return, but nothing was the same. Every window showed a different scene. One showed a bright summer morning, another a pitch-black ocean, another a barren desert. Sina wept. Lars tried to lock the doors, but the locks had softened, bending like dough. At 1:55, the main door opened on its own. There was nothing beyond it. No wind, no rain, no sound. Only emptiness. And from that emptiness, a shadow emerged. A human-shaped silhouette. It did not walk. It drifted. Lars screamed and charged at it. Zena ran after him. The shadow enveloped him. A blinding light filled the room. Then darkness. The door closed. Zena was alone. Her final notebook page, never officially recovered, read, "This station is not a doorway. It never was. We were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now it's my turn. The light is calling me. I'm going inside. If anyone finds this, don't come back. Even time isn't ours in here." And those were Sina's last known words. Sina, Lars, and Eric were never seen again. The next morning, the storm had vanished completely. When rescue teams arrived, the building was intact. The walls were smooth, no cracks. Not a single object was out of place. It was as if no one had ever lived there. But near the wall, there was a small pool of water. Under flashlight, it shimmered with a faint green glow. This is the most detailed account ever recorded of the Breakwater station incident. No one truly knows what happened that night. There is only one detail that remains the same in every version. The sea is not always just water.